How many times do you reckon that we've been told by our teachers, parents or elders how fortunate we are to have the internet? Apparently they reckon that if they had the same back in their day, it would have been much easier for them to become successful. Even though it's just usually a passing comment, it can leave a lot of pressure in the back of young minds to make sure that we reach that imaginary level of success. It can leave us feeling overwhelmed and confused when it comes to making those crucial decisions to get us onto the right path. To be fair, they do have a point. Of course, technology has huge benefits. It allows us to share and receive information, we can keep updated with the latest news instantly, and we can find out answers to almost any question at the click of a button. Of course, these are all huge benefits that we shouldn't take for granted, but on a deeper level, it's much more complex when it comes to personal success. I reckon we have three main barriers. The first is options. More options means more paths, but which path is best for you? There's a crazy amount of different decisions we can make, but if you think about the insanely low attention span and the general indecisiveness of young people today, we just can't seem to focus on our commitment long enough without re-questioning our choices. Second comes trust. The internet gives us so much information and each day its database is growing to help us find more answers. But as the good information grows, so does the bad. There is so much misinformation out there targeted at a younger audience, it's becoming increasingly difficult to know what we can trust. Lastly, we have uncertainty. How can we be certain for the success of our future when we can't even trust some of the unjust systems that we have in place right now? These issues should have never have taken place, and we as a society should have taken care of this years ago. Yet some of us are still facing issues without even having a choice. How can we as a progressive generation put our trust in ancient systems that are still failing on absolute fundamentals? So it seems it's not just as simple as logging on and achieving success after all. It's becoming harder to filter between authentic information, paid marketing and straight up corruption. If you combine these with issues of options, trust and uncertainty, and with the madness of 2020, it's easy to see why young minds can be so negative at the moment. We are told how important it is to disconnect and take time for ourselves. But it's not easy when your job, uni assignments and primary forms of communication involve a constant relationship with the internet. So I know being able to take time away is easier said than done. Personally, for quite some time, I've been struggling to remain positive. I've lacked energy and questioned my purpose a lot, which seems to have been magnified by the time spent online. It's difficult to figure out how to create a difference in an ever-increasing world of noise. It's easy to get stuck inside your own head and question everything. It's made me realise all the other young people going through something similar and those who have to combine this with other issues that are beyond their control. With tech growing at an overwhelming rate, we need to stand up and address real human issues. That's why I've created this platform, One Life Send It. It does what it says in the tin, with hopes of supporting anyone who is struggling to find their purpose and work together to find some answers. Created through visuals that help us simplify and find our path, with the help from others who have inspiring stories on how they're finding answers to their own questions, and personal challenges to see how far we can push ourselves. On my journey, if there's anything I've already learned, it's that breaking your own comfort zone is the best way you can learn. Exactly 1 week from now will mark 2 years since initially leaving my comfort zone when I left Manchester to take on a new challenge in the Netherlands. It's been a rollercoaster journey, that's for sure, and an experience which has taught me a lot more than just staying comfortable. It's now time for me to head back to the northwest for a while, so it can only be right that I challenge myself again. This time it'll be on 2 wheels. Inspired by the cycling culture of the Netherlands and confirmed by the COVID-19 madness, 8 weeks ago I decided it would be best for my own sanity to find a way to get out of the same room I'd been stuck in for 12 weeks, escape to places with minimal sneezing and clear my mind. After watching an unhealthy amount of cycling YouTube and adventure content during lockdown, I decided I knew enough of the basics and found a second-hand road bike that looked in decent condition. Since then I've been cycling around like a madman and it's done a decent job at keeping my mind quiet. It seemed only right after a rough patch, and with my time in the Netherlands coming to an end, to push myself to hopefully raise some awareness for other young minds who are facing mental problems. To make it extra ridiculous, I've decided to cycle the length of the Netherlands through Belgium and France, and then up from the bottom of the UK back up to Manchester in 6 days. With no previous experience and some questionable equipment, this isn't going to be the standard professional cyclist on a trip across Europe on a 12 grand road bike kind of video. And if my previous experience on 2 wheels is anything to go by, then this journey is probably going to be a painful one. I'll be travelling from where I've been living in Utrecht, down the country into Belgium and arriving in Bruges where I'm going to spend the evening trying to avoid all the local Belgian beer breweries. On my second day, I'm going to travel across France to Calais. Then early next morning, I'm going to catch the first ferry over to Dover, where I'm going to cycle 150 kilometres past Boris to Watford. This is about the halfway point, with 400 kilometres in the legs, so no doubt I'll already be absolutely knackered. By this point, I'm sure, if I already had life questions before this, I'm sure they've doubled by now. But determined to make it a success, I'll travel up the length of the Midlands for the next 2 days before reaching the edge of the Peak District, where I'll spend my final night before travelling back to my family in the northwest. 850 kilometres, 6 days, 4 countries, potentially horrific weather. No previous cycling experience and over 40 plus hours sat on a metal pole with a length of plastic on top. It's not going to be easy, but I know it's going to be worth it. Most importantly, this cycle challenge will be to raise money for the charity Mind. It's a great organisation that works with young people who suffer from anxiety, depression and other mental illnesses. I'm going to leave a GoFundMe link down below where I'm trying to raise £1 for every mile that I cycle. However, I do understand the absolute madness that's going on in the world right now, and there should already actively be funds that we're already supporting, so I understand if you can't give any money at this time. As a consequence to that, I'm not a graphic designer or a videographer or anything like that, and this is my first video, so if you could leave a like, comment, a subscribe, or you could just give me any feedback on this video at all, that would help me out a lot, and hopefully then it would reach more people than just my mum and my grandma. Apart from that, I'm going to be releasing my next cycling video within a week or so, because that's when I set off. Apart from that, I will see you next time. Thanks.